Ryan Braun hitting backwards, common mistakes hitters make, part 1. Hey, what's going on? It's Joey Myers from the Hitting Performance Lab, and in this video, the first installment featuring Ryan Braun, we're going to be talking about the hitting backwards 4 common mistakes hitters make video series. We're going to be discussing the 3 compensations a hitter makes when you tell him to sit back. The first part we're going to talk about is we're going to look at one of my hitters and see those compensations, and then we're going to take a look at Ryan Braun's swing and see how he does the opposite of what my hitter does. But first, let's take a look at one of my hitters. Okay, so let's look at the common compensations that tend to happen when we tell a hitter to sit back. There's 3 of them. This is one of my hitters. This is the first video we took of him before any instruction. This is maybe about a year ago. And what you're going to see is we're going to kill all 3 birds with one stone. We're going to look for head movement first. So what you tend to see is you see the wider stance, and you'll see them sit back just like this. That first movement is trying to stay back on that back leg. And once that front heel hits the ground, we're going to measure head and eye movement. So we're going to draw a circle around his head, and we're going to see his eyes move forward and head right into the final turn, which is no bueno. So if we remove the circle, and now we look at the lunge, you can see that he's bending on that knee and never really recovers. You'll see that knee stay bent the whole time. Now, this hitter, he knew fastballs were coming. I wasn't throwing any junk to him or any off-speed stuff, but you can imagine if there were junk or off-speed, he's got one set dead red. That's all a sit-back hitter can do, and very handsy hitter can do is hit the dead red as well as anybody, but the off-speed and the breaking stuff they're going to have a hard time with. Now, what you also notice is his front shoulder will start to move out just as soon as the hip does. They move at the same time. Instead of getting this rotation, counter rotation set up before the front heel hits the ground so that we can get the hip to fire first and get the shoulders to come around second. The sit-back hitter tends to use their hands way too much. And so what we want to do is we want to do what Ryan Braun's doing, is what you'll see in the next analysis. Okay, so now that you've seen the compensations in one of my hitters of when you tell a hitter to sit back, now let's take a look at Ryan Braun's swing and see what happens when you do the opposite. So let's take a look at Ryan Braun's swing and see how he hits backwards. Now first, let's take a look at his head movement. You're going to see that early. He's getting it out of the way early, getting his forward movement early. And then once his front foot hits the ground, you're going to see him draw an oval around his head. His head's not going to move forward at all. It's actually going to move back. And this is where we get this snapping towel effect. You're going to see him move forward first, and then he's going to snap back towards the catcher. Now the other thing that I wanted to talk about, which you're going to change views here on the same pitch, is you're going to see his shoulders counter-rotate his pelvis before his front heel hits the ground. So you'll see the pitcher letting go of the ball, and as Braun starts his fall forward, you're going to start to see his number and the back of his jersey or his name. So you can see that his hips are going to start opening right here. His heel hasn't even hit the ground yet, but his shoulders are counter-rotating his pelvis. This is something that's impossible for a hitter sitting back to do because they're so hands-oriented. But this is here. You see Braun hitting backwards. So make sure we're not telling our hitters to sit back. And another thing, make sure we're swinging smarter by moving better.